Okay, Assalamualaikum and very good evening. And today our groups we will talk about the negative impact of the cattle industry in Malaysia. In this presentation, we will focus on the negative impact in cattle industry, how environment and social affected from the cattle industry, how cattle biotechnology reduce environmental impact, and the last one is how to overcome the negative impact. And now I will go to my point. It is the negative impact of the cattle industry it will cause the water pollution because the factories that processing the cattle meat it will produce waste that will channel it to the river. The domestic waste thrown into the river contains the phosphate and nitrate. The phosphate from the waste can cause the eutrophication that makes the algae bloom, and it will affect the aquatic living because they can get the sunlight from directly from the sun because it is blocked by the algae, and they can undergo photosynthesis so they can die or it will harm their life. So that's from my point. I will pass it to another presenter. Thank you.
Thank you, Denish Aiman. And now I will continue with the other negative impacts regarding to the cattle industry in Malaysia. Uh, the other negative impacts are land degradation and air pollution. As you can see here, for land degradation, the main negative impacts is overgrazing, reduce ground cover, meaning that we can see that at the location of livestock area, there are a lots of grass grow at that place for the cattle food. The number of grass in the livestock area will prevent other plants to grow at that place. Beside that, it lead to higher frequency of flood. We can see that normally at the livestock area, there are a lot of cattle waste produced at that place. And when the time of heavy rain, the cattle waste will cover the drain and cause the flash flood when the level of the water higher than the river banks. Uh, in the other hand, the negative impact is it will consume to soil acidity, meaning that we need to remember that not all plants in a certain place are suitable for the natural fertilizer of the cattle waste. There are a lot of plants which are not suitable with the cattle waste as fertilizers, especially when they are infected with disease. Uh, the waste of the cattle may be acidic to the other plants at the livestock area, and this will result to less fertilized and less nutrient to the other plants. Next, I will to talk about air pollution. Uh, at the livestock area, the negative impact is produce an unpleasant odor from their waste. People who live, uh, people whose their home located near to the livestock area will feel unpleasant with the odor from the cattle waste. Other than that, the waste of the cattle will attract more flies to the livestock area, and these flies will spread the disease to home by home when uh, uh, regarding to the food contamination. That's all from me. Now I will pass to another presenter. Thank you.
Thank you, Anas. I will continue our presentation today. This is about the effect of cattle industry to the environment and social. Okay, the more country develop, the more meat has been consumed. It really shows that the society in Malaysia very love to eat meat that contains a high protein nutrient. Usually, milk and meat production is important as this is one of the daily foods for Malaysians. Besides the human aspect associated with the rearing and slaughtering conditions of animals in the food industry, the great increase in the consumption of animal products has a more severe impact to the environment. Society doesn't realize that the increasingly widespread production of meat in Malaysia has the negative impact to the environment. Cattle production is actually harmful to the environment because this will lead to problems such as creating water pollution, climate change, habitat destruction, and human diet. I will pass to Azlin to explain more detail about all of these problems. Thank you.
Thank you, Samiha. The first effect of cattle industry toward environment is water pollution. The trend of increasing livestock industry and consumption of animal product has a negative impact on ecosystem and water sources. The water pollution is caused by animal excreta that left everywhere. Antibiotics, hormone used for cattle health, which is the leftover that not discarded in the right way, and also fertilizer and pesticide used in the forage production and rainfall run of the pasture. After that, there exists the excess nutrients from the fertilizer leach into surface and groundwater, causing algal blooms and nitrates contaminations, impacts drinking water, recreational activities such as swimming and boating. Next, another major concern in effect in environment is climate change. Rising livestock generate 40.5% of global greenhouse gas emission. That's very bad for the environment. At the same time, cattle farming and their byproduct account for at least 32 million tons of carbon dioxide per year. Forests help lower the risk of sudden climate change and also tone down the impact from the natural disasters. This situation resulting in temperature rising due to greenhouse gases trapping more heat in the atmospheres. Drought become longer and more extreme around the world. As temperature rise, there is less snowpack in the mountain ranges and polar area, and the snow melts faster. Overall, glaciers are melting at a faster rates, and lastly, sea level are rising, threatening coastal community and estuarine ecosystem. I think that's all for me. I will pass for the another presenter. Thank you.
Thank you, Azmin. I will continue for the next effect from cattle industry, which is habitat destruction. You know why? When cattle industry is increased, it will require a larger area. Cattle industry is one of causes can lead to deforestation, either for grazing or for fodder and feed production. The forest where the landscape is aggressively transformed due to the production of grains and greens for cattle production. So the other animals' habitats such as birds, monkeys, squirrels, and so on will be disturbed. Also, the cattle industry impact on human diet because it produces more product from beef like burger, which is we known as fast food. Fast food contains a lot of calories that can lead to obesity, diabetes, and heart disease. So it will reduce nutritional diet of human. That's all for me. Thank you.
I will conclude all of these points. In conclusion, various management efforts should be developed to maintain sustainable in Malaysia environment. All of the issue is not new to affect human life and environment. This issue had been widely covered by various media. Therefore, people should take action and be responsible about the problem faced from the cattle industry. This calls for collaboration between the government, livestock farms management, and the Veterinary Services Department to enhance public awareness toward all of these issues in livestock farm. If humans ignore the disadvantage of meat production, this will have an impact to the future, which is our next generation. I will pass to the next presenter.
Okay, now I want to talk about the effect of uh, other other effect of cattle livestock, which is cattle biotechnology. What is cattle biotechnology? Basically, biotechnology is a methods used in improving the breeding stock of animals. These include artificial insemination, embryo transfer, in vitro fertilization, somatic cell, nuclear transfer, and the imaging technology of somatic cell. But basically, cattle biotechnology is to improve the uh, to increasing the livestock of cattle, and it also have a bad impact too. Okay, first we go to environment. The livestock production emits carbonaceous and nitrogenous compounds that contribute to air and water pollution as well as climate change. Um, when the cattle livestock is increasing, their excretion, which is feces and urine, on ground, um, which contribute to majority of nitrogen in urine. So the nitrogen will convert to ammonia emission, and it will emit to nuisance for people residing. It also contribute to human health issue. I will pass to next presenter.
Thank you, Latifa. For the next point, which is artificial insemination might cause vulvovaginitis. So, what is artificial insemination? It is defined as the medical or veterinary procedure of injecting bull semen in the vagina or uterus of the cow. So, how can artificial insemination can cause the vulvovaginitis? The viral pathogen that name bovine hespervirus or BHV1 is commonly found in the bull semen. And when the artificial insemination way is used for the breeding of the cow, it will lead for the spreading of the pathogen widely. So this virus actually can cause a lot of disease. So I take only an example, which is vulvovaginitis, that is defined as an inflammation or infection of the vagina of the female cattle. So when this way is used to the cattle, it will cause a lot of disease such as vulvovaginitis. That is really awful for the cows actually, and I think it will affect for the natural mating environment for the cow. I think that's all from me. I will pass to Alpha for the next point.
So next, I'm going to present recombinant bovine somatotropin, or also called as RBST. So RBST is a biotechnology that is available to improve meat production that is commercially used in about 20 countries. Somatotropin is an essential homeostatic control in nutrient partitioning of the animal, and also it results in an increase in meat production in dairy cattle. The use of RBST can reduce the environmental impact of dairy cattle via improved meat production efficiency. This can be proved when most of RBST herd produce 9% less nitrogen, 9.5% less phosphorus, and 8.1% fewer greenhouse gases. That is all from me. I will pass to the next presenter.
So I will continue on with the ways to overcome the negative impact. First, to overcome the water pollution, we need to have a proper water sewage treatment. What sewage treatment is the process of removing contaminants from wastewater. Then the government should also enforce the law by banning throwing of domestic waste in rivers and fine or punish factories that process cattle meat that channel waste into river. Next, I will pass on to my teammate Xiang Yi.
Thank you, Winnie. Now I'm going to talk about overcoming negative impact, that is land degradation and air pollution. So land degradation is mainly caused by overgrazing and activity of hooves. So then the cow overgraze, the vegetative cover of the grass will be destroyed. So the soil erosion will occur. So to prevent the cow from overgrazing, the livestock industry can instead use rotational grazing. Next is to lessen activity of hooves on the soil to protect the soil. So as we know, cattle is quite heavy, and when they graze on the soil, they will make the soil more compact. This will make the root harder to penetrate the soil to get the nutrients and the oxygen. So this can be also done by rotational grazing. So the cow will not spend so much time on the soil. The soil will not be so compact that it will stop the growth of the roots. The agriculture crop that is grown on the place can grow more higher and will have more yield as the soil can penetrate, the roots can penetrate the soil easily. Next is overcoming air pollution. Air pollution is mainly caused by the waste produced by the cattle. The waste produced by cattle will release harmful gases into the air, and including methane, which will cause global warming as it's a greenhouse gas. The way to overcome this air pollution is by processing the waste by composting or energy production. Composting can be done by reducing the water content in the waste and then killing all the microorganisms in the waste to produce organic fertilizer for agriculture use. While for energy production, the livestock industry can heat the waste and then use the ash as the fertilizer, and the heat can be used for other energy sources in agriculture. So I think that is all for our presentation. Thank you for your time.